It was a long time coming, but after 9 months in early access, PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds finally released version 1.0 on December 21st, 2017. By then, the game hit another major milestone, having sold over 30 million copies across both PC and Xbox One. It's safe to say that PUBG is by far 2017's most commercially successful game, and there are no signs of this freight train slowing down anytime soon. Now, for all its success, the game has also garnered criticism on numerous fronts from its player base. While few deny that PUBG is a fantastic concept as a game, many will be quick to point out that it's still sorely lacking in polish, that server issues and rubber banding are still major sore spots, and that the rampant spread of cheaters is ruining the experience. And beyond that, there's the criticism on PUBG's inclusion of loot boxes, which have been in the game for a while now, even during its early access period. Now, just yesterday, on January 10th, 2018, PUBG developers updated loot boxes in a variety of ways, namely by adding a few new types. Prior to this latest update, players could obtain one of two loot box types, Wanderer and Survivor crates, each of which have their own pool of cosmetic items. Now, it's important to note that both of these crates weren't tied to real currency and were obtained by spending in-game currency called battle points, while real currency did come into play in the Steam marketplace, where the rarest of these items could be sold for hundreds of dollars. Within the game itself, obtaining these two types of loot boxes were strictly confined to battle points earned by playing matches. But that will all change with the latest update, which adds two new types of loot boxes, Biker Crates and Desperado Crates. Both are obtained by spending battle points, but whereas Biker Crates open without spending real money, Desperado Crates can only be unlocked by spending $2.50 on a key. In other words, PUBG will finally be introducing a microtransactions component in the game. Now, to PUBG's credit, they did at least disclose the odds of obtaining certain types of crates and specific items within their rewards pool in their patch notes, but some of these numbers aren't pretty. So the way loot boxes work in PUBG is that when you spend battle points to purchase them, you don't get to pick which type of crate you get, but rather there's a random chance to obtain a certain crate. With the new update, there is now a 10% chance that a loot box will yield the older Wanderer or Survivor crates, and a 40% chance it will yield the newer Biker or Desperado crates. From there, the percentage of obtaining specific items within Biker and Desperado crates breaks down as follows. In the Biker crates, the rarest items, the brown and black sleeveless biker jacket and the checkered cloth mask, have a measly 0.01% chance of dropping. While in the Desperado crates, the rarest item, the leopard cloth mask, has a 0.16% chance of dropping. If these percentages seem ridiculous to you, that's because they are, especially when you consider that with the new update, there is now a cap that limits players to only being able to open 6 loot boxes per week. With the weekly cap and the odds of obtaining certain crates and items in mind, website Ars Technica did some calculations, and what they determined was that to obtain the Biker Crates rarest items, it would take someone just under 80 years on average, and to obtain the Desperado Crates rarest item, it would take 5 years along with $1,562.50 worth of key purchases. As for why PUBG developers implemented the weekly cap, it was to ensure a sense of rarity with their items in order to increase their value in the Steam marketplace, where players can sell individual items obtained in-game at a price. What the marketplace does is give people who don't want to deal with having to spin the loot box slot machines to obtain desired items the opportunity to window shop for these items and purchase them directly instead. Now, that may sound great at a glance, but because of the imposed 6 loot boxes per week limit and the extremely low chances of obtaining some of these items, we are looking at an artificially inflated market in which some of these items can cost an exorbitant amount. One glance at the Steam Marketplace should tell you everything you need to know, which shows that currently the game's rarest items cost over $1,800. So yes, the marketplace gives you the option to pick out and buy the items that you want without having to get lucky with loot boxes, but doing so will cost you dearly and will likely be out of reach for most. Now, I'm sure many will defend all this by saying that these loot boxes are cosmetic only and don't grant gameplay advantages, so they don't matter. But I will once again retort that just because cosmetics don't affect gameplay statistics doesn't mean they don't affect gameplay experience. Players do get genuine enjoyment out of being able to customize their character's appearance to their liking. Finding new gear in games like Skyrim and Witcher 3 wasn't just about the statistics behind them, but also about the satisfaction of mixing and matching gear to make your character look cool, and the appeal of cosmetics is only amplified further in a multiplayer environment that allows players to show off their customized virtual avatar to other players. So while it's true that cosmetics don't affect players' competitive edge, I have to disagree with the notion that they have zero influence on overall enjoyment, because a gameplay experience isn't just about raw stats and numbers, it's about a combination of everything a game has to offer. And B, the more important issue at hand is the kind of ecosystem that PUBG's loot boxes and their synergy with the marketplace creates. Unlike games like Star Wars Battlefront 2, in which items earned through loot boxes can't be bought, sold, or traded between players, in PUBG, all items do have a real monetary value because they can be bought, sold, and traded through the Steam Marketplace. So every time you open a loot box in PUBG, you're essentially gambling for real money, and depending on your luck, you could earn as little as 4 cents or as much as over $1,800. Every crate you open is akin to scratching a lottery ticket. You could end up winning nothing, or you could be one of the lucky few who ends up winning big. So on top of the incentive of obtaining rare cosmetic items to show them off to other players, there's also the added lure of lucking into big earnings to keep people addicted into buying these crates and keys. It doesn't take a genius to see that PUBG is very much a game that's teetering on the line of gambling's legal definition, and yet the game has a T for teens rating despite the ESRB's own stipulation that any game featuring gambling with real currency should be rated adults only. None of this is anything new either. Games like Counter-Strike also employ similar casino-style marketplace tactics through weapon cases, their own version of loot boxes. The allure of the Steam Marketplace for game developers is that there is a lot of money to be made from it, since a small cut of all items sold through the marketplace goes to Valve and the game developer. Games like CSGO and PUBG are essentially 2 games in one. You've got the actual core game and then the marketplace casino that comes with it. They are 2 sides of the same coin. And before you argue that PUBG's developer is a company that needs to earn money to keep the game afloat, I can tell you for a fact that A, PUBG didn't cost that much to make, and B, PUBG sales alone, 30 million units and counting at $30 a pop, made the studio $900 million, and even with Steam's 30% cut, that's still $630 million in revenue. Add on top of that the huge sums of money that they likely made via the marketplace while the system was active during PUBG's early access, and I think it's safe to expect that the total revenue for the game has already surpassed $1 billion. Oh, and did I mention that as of September 28th, 2017, PUBG developer Bluehole was reported to be valued at $4.6 billion? That number has only gone up since. Yeah, the fact of the matter is that PUBG doesn't need to implement microtransactions or a casino-style marketplace to stay financially stable, nor do such systems stand to benefit players in any way. But they do it anyway because they can, because they know it will draw in investors, and because they easily stand to make riches by exploiting players' addictive tendencies through a predatory gambling system that practically runs itself. And while PUBG developers put their focus on fleshing out the abhorrent marketplace, the core game still remains unpolished. It still faces netcode and server issues, and little seems to be done about dealing with cheaters and hackers. It's just so disheartening to see yet another game with so much potential being marred by shady antics and corporate greed, a trend that was far too prevalent throughout 2017. You would also think that game publishers and developers would take a step back from predatory practices after legislators threatened government intervention following the Battlefront 2 backlash, but there are no signs of them slowing down. At this rate, they'll only draw more ire from gamers and give legislators more ammo with which to pass bills that may impose unwelcome restrictions. Ideally, I'd prefer that the government keep their grubby hands to themselves, but if the gaming industry isn't willing to take the necessary steps to keep the most egregious and dangerous forms of predatory practices in check, what other choice is there really? There needs to be some form of oversight for shit like this, and the gaming industry still has the choice of regulating itself before the government kicks the doors down. Anyway, I've said all there is to say about PUBG's latest development. The bottom line is that while loot boxes in this game aren't Battlefront 2 level of game breaking, they certainly do teeter on full-on gambling, and the ridiculous odds of obtaining the rarest items and the resulting artificial inflation of the casino-like marketplace looms a dark shadow over a game whose full potential remains unrealized. With that, I would like to end this news update and discussion video. Thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this video informative, and if you enjoy my content, consider supporting me on Patreon to help this channel stay independent and self-sustained. And to be further updated on all things gaming news, reviews, and discussions, stay tuned right here on Young Yeah. I'll see you guys next time. Young out!